everyone. Welcome to the Marketing Drip, where we drip tips to scale your business digitally. Abby here, and the topic today is specifically for my dentists out there that are transitioning in or out of a practice. I talked with Pam Dolberry, a legacy practice transitions, who has been in dental profession for 40 years. She's been a dental assistant, practice manager, and a consultant. She has a proven record of success in offering growth strategies and expert advice over the past 10 years as a management consultant. And Pam is authorized as a DIS partner, offering workshops to help build strong teams and healthy patient relationships. After experiencing a successful transition of a practice that she managed for over 16 years, Pam was impressed by Legacy's unique consultative approach to transitions as it's seamlessly integrated with her approach to practice management. So she gives a lot of great insight on today's episode, so let's begin. Today's drip, provided by a Digital Resource, a full-service digital marketing agency that is your resource for everything digital. Hey, Pam, thank you so much for joining us today and dripping some knowledge. I'm so excited to pick your brain.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And I know we just talked about how you have been in the dental industry for 40 years. So I'm just so excited to get your intel and have your knowledge. And based off of that, I mean, when it comes to doctors and they're looking to transition or they're looking to buy a practice, let's start at the beginning, right, of that transition process. What advice would you give doctors that are looking to purchase a practice?
So, your new doctors coming out of school don't really know much of anything about owning a dental practice. They've learned dentistry and they haven't learned a lot of anything else. And having watched them go through that process, it's pretty intense through the dentistry part. So finding a good rep is really important. A buyer's representative is a key thing for a new doctor looking to buy a practice. We do offer buyer services and with our transition team. There's a lot of other buyer representatives out there, but just to have somebody around them that understands the field that they're playing in and that they're looking in and can help them make some good judgment and decisions. We also want them to look and make sure they've got a good team with them. They've got a good attorney, a good CPA, a good group that can help guide them on the financial path that they need to go to get where they want to go at the end of their time of dentistry, starting at the beginning of the time that they start dentistry. And they got to look at a bunch of other things. Do they have management experience of any kind? Because they're going to be managing a whole team of people, not to mention patients. And, if you don't have any of that management experience, it's difficult sometimes to understand what you need to do to keep your team going the right way.
I don't hear that a lot. And you're so right. It's it's more the entrepreneurial side of it and the business side of things. But obviously management is part of that. That's a really good point to hit on, is not only managing your team and the people that you're going to be hiring on, but also your patients. And in a sense, I love how you mentioned the board of experts, right? Like you have your team that's next to you, everybody that is going to be your resource for making great decisions into the business. But managing, that's a really good point. I really like that. Have you seen successes or non-successes of management really impacting?
Yes, sadly I have. And the good news is there are people out in the dental space that you can hire to help you with that. You don't have to know it, right? You can hire a consultant. I do that as part of my transition business. Come in and help people learn how their systems work. Most doctors barely even understand their practice management software. So if you don't understand how your software works, then you don't understand how your numbers work. And if you don't understand how your numbers work, you don't know how to grow your business. So it's really important that you've got a good team around you, not just outside with your attorneys and your CPAs, but people who know dentistry. This is where a lot of young buyers make mistakes, as they tend to just go, I'll go with my brother, he's a CPA. And he can help me. But if they don't know dentistry specifically, there's some very direct items that will impact them that if their CPA doesn't have that experience, they will miss out on some opportunities that might come their way. So having that good group outside is great, but understanding and knowing how your day-to-day practice runs, knowing what your numbers should be, knowing that sort of thing is super important. It's not just about the dentistry. They're spitting out good dentists out of dental schools all over the country. But the dentists that come out of school and who spend some time either attending some CE or meeting with people or hiring people to help them set their practices up and make them go straight away from the beginning are far better off than those that wait. Usually, on the management side of things, I get the teams that are struggling, and it's my job to come in and help turn things around and help make things better for the doctor and the team. So start early, start young, start when you first buy a practice. It seems overwhelming because you're like, I don't have any money and it's so expensive to get into this and student loans, but it's well worth your time and effort in the end.
Yeah. And it's almost like would you agree with this? It's like, just ask for help. That's okay. You're not supposed to, especially for new doctors. You're fresh out of college or fresh out of school. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're an associate somewhere and you're learning a lot from another doctor or another practice, but it's okay to not know everything. And nobody should know everything, right? That's the beauty of growing and personal development and making sure that you surround yourself with people that are knowledgeable and pushing yourself. Because to your very point, I mean, if you're saying these things like you don't know your numbers, you don't know your practice management software as well, you're absolutely right. But that's not something to hurt smack yourself on and be like, oh, I'm a terrible business. No, it's an opportunity to grow. You're not supposed to learn all these things right away.
Right.
But you also don't want to go 10, 15 years into the practice and say, I wish I would have known that, or I wish I could have, or you want to be able to be very open-minded and listen to what people's own experiences bring to the table, or own experts, just as yourself, to be able to really bounce board and discuss what they've seen other practices do to avoid you from having that same experience, or
absolutely
to provide you with that same experience because it's a good experience. It's a good thing to have. And
absolutely.
It tends to be overwhelming, right? It's going to be overwhelming. You're running a business at the end of the day. Yes, you're a clinician, but you are running a business, and it's understanding that at every level.
It is. I agree with that.
Yeah. So what do you find when practice owners really need to, so they bought a practice, they're kicking butt, right? They're doing really well. Now they want to expand the practice and go into multiple locations.
Awesome.
Because they listen to their board of experts and they've done everything right. And now they're just pumping them out. So what do you think they need to consider if they do want to grow their practice or have multiple locations?
So first and most important thing is know who you're going into business with, right? So if you're buying a practice and you're looking at it from the financial aspect, which obviously you have to do, right? So that you make sure you're making good financial decisions, but you are going into business with a doctor who doesn't have a good reputation, perchance. Maybe they don't have good reviews online. Maybe they have high staff turnover and those kind of things. Those are things that you should look at so that you know what kind of doctor you are going to be working with. Because once you buy the practice, guess what? You're now managing that doctor as well. So knowing who those people are and making sure you're in a good, solid relationship, that your skill sets are similar, that your philosophies are similar, will go a long way towards making things successful. Find out how long the person that you're buying the practice from wants to stay on. Maybe they want to stay on and just no longer manage. Maybe they want to stay on 5 or 10 years. Some people do. That's good information to have. What kind of procedures are done in those practices? Can you do them, or can you find somebody to do them if you're not going to be in that practice? So typically a doctor who buys multiple practices is not, obviously they can only be in one place at one time, right? So understanding that if you're let's say you're buying a practice where they do a lot of wisdom teeth extractions. Well, it's not always easy to find a general doctor who's fairly young and new coming out of school who knows how to do that effectively. So you want to be sure you're finding a practice that's very, what do we call it? We call it bread and butter. The bread and butter practices that, the doctors can come out and they can get right into, and they can get right to work, and they can be successful, and then they can help make you successful. Very important that they're doing that.
Yeah. It's like your spouse, right? It's like your business spouse. You want to make sure that you're aligned and that the future that you're creating for each other, or the other associate, if there's multiple, right? You guys are all aligned.
Absolutely.
And it's always good I think of my practices that have multiple doctors and their relationship, and the ones that are like really successful in it, they complement each other really well too. So and when you said services, that's spot on as far as like, if you like to do implants, let's say you like to do cosmetic, but there are the doctors that want to do the bread and butter. That's a great relationship because you want to have both. or you want to have different locations that offer something specific, great. That's all under the same brand, the same branch is ideal for clarity, right? That's going to be huge for the practice as far as growth, but also alignment and making sure that everybody has their own almost category, but it's not like you have to have split differences. It's understanding your roles and understanding what you are meant to do with the practice, your goals, and aligning with that is very crucial. So, pick the right partner.
Really?
And to go off our board of experts, I think that's a great thing too. Like, look into the people that you're also hitching your wagon to. Like you and I, right? We're doing this podcast together. We're hanging out. Like, we know, we respect each other. We know that we would like to send business to each other and help each other out because we've looked into each other. We know each other's backgrounds. If you just, we're a branch, an extension of each other's companies, right? So CPAs that you're working with, if you're working with consultants, if you're whoever that marketing companies, you want to make sure they are also an extension of your business too, and they have those same values, because that does really stand out and align well. People get it better, and there's so many opportunities that way, and it's easier to explain what you want if everyone gets it.
Well, and you have to think about too, the patients that are in those practices, and if that patient's been coming to you and you've been in that practice and now you're going to transition to a different practice, that patient knows and loves you, right? That's why they're coming. You want to make sure you have a like-minded person that somebody's also going to know and love and be able to carry on in that practice. It's something else to look at if buying additional locations is what size is the location, because you kind of need to mitigate some risk sometimes. You might want to look at something that is a little larger, 5 operatories, let's say, or more, so you can put 2 doctors in there. That way, you're not stuck should one of the doctors move out of town or get married or decide they don't want to do dentistry anymore, or, go to France or whatever fun stuff they decide to do. You can have 2 doctors in the practice working so you don't lose revenue or spend a lot of time. You'll still have to spend time looking to replace that doctor, but at least you'll have somebody in this space working with you in this practice. So there's some really good things in the ideal situation in a multi-practice setup, an entrepreneurial setup, as we call it, is 2 doctors in a practice works really well.
Yeah. And it's like going off of like your patients and transition and everything too, there's strategies, right? So having those strategies aligned for your business, like you said, for profitability. And then also I would strongly encourage a marketing strategy of some sort. You need to make sure that your patients are, to your very point, when the doctors are picking somebody, when you pick an associate to come on with you, they are an extension of you as well. But letting the patients know that's a simple video that you can shoot. That's an email campaign you can send out to your existing patients, letting them know, I picked this person for you. I've had you in mind. I know they're the best option to take care of because you've trusted me with your dental care for all these years. This is my new partner, or this is the person that's going to be taking over, or whatever that may be. Clear is kind, right? So making sure that you're stating that and making them feel a part of the change versus blindsiding them. They come into the chair and they're like, hi, I'm Dr. Brown. Yeah, I've never met you, Dr. Brown, and you're about to get in my mouth. Like, what's happening?
Exactly. That happens, and that happens a lot. That happens a lot.
Absolutely.
Not very well liked by a lot of patients, that's for sure.
No, because it's like patients here ourselves as like family members, especially when you're in those smaller communities. Like, I've been going to you and my kids are going to you and my parents have been, and now you just were replaced.
Who are you? Yeah, absolutely. It's the same thing with your hygienist. Everybody knows and loves their hygienist. And when a hygienist leaves the office, it's so difficult for the doctor because they spend more time with the patients even than the doctors do, right? A lot of times, because
absolutely
they see them every 6 months. They don't have any problems. They're in with the doctor 10 or 15 minutes maybe, and 45 minutes to an hour with the hygienist. So having a good hygienist that's there, it's hard when they leave. So trying to keep your team in place is really, really a good thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And celebrating that too. So let's say they are moving up, or let's say your hygienist, God forbid they leave, but somebody else comes in, or the doctor even. You want to make sure they're part of that celebration. Like, make it exciting versus like scary, Don't be like, oh, they left. What? Why? And making sure everybody has the same story. Nothing's more jarring with like, you hear all these different stories and you're like, something's not right. well, what's not right is that people aren't aligned, but the patient can't identify it. They just know that it's not the same comfortable place that they've been going to. So what's changed? It's change. Change is scary. It doesn't have to be scary.
Yeah, you're right. And you know what, Abby, you hit on a huge point across all dental practices. Communication is key, right? And making sure your message is out there and your message is the same message that the message you want to convey first, and the message that your patients want to hear. That's key to making everything work. So what you guys offer, what I love about working with you guys and is being able to get that video and that information and stuff out to our patients without me having to think too much about it. We're busy. We're busy when we're in the dental practices, and having a partner like you guys help us get that stuff out there is amazing, so that we know it's being followed up on and regularly communicated to the patients.
Well, it's always nice when they want to do that, like when doctors want to, or practices want to make that impact, because it does make such a difference. We see it in the numbers of not just like having somebody show up, but they're actually doing a video. They get to see the person, they get to see their photos with their family. It just makes it a lot more personable, which helps, especially when that purchase happens. When you purchase another practice, let's be honest, you're buying the patients. Like, you're buying the team, you're buying the building itself, and you're buying the patients.
You're right.
If you lose all those patients, your profit just, like, now you have to put more marketing efforts into your new, which you're going to anyway. It's attrition. You have to do that.
It is.
But there is less that you would have to put as far as your external marketing strategy to get the new patients, when you could just focus on the existing ones that you already paid for.
You're right.
And nurture them and make that handoff really easy. And most doctors, especially when they're retiring and they're selling, they want to be part of that. They want to make sure they're taken care of. So inviting them to be part of the communications, the videos, is always very strong. And they always love that. Like, it's a matter of asking it. To your very point, we do it all the time. So it's easier for us to just like knock it out, where it can be daunting if you've never done it before, or for a doctor to be like holding a phone up and like, what do I do?
What do I say? I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Where do I put my hands? Like,
Exactly.
It can be really scary.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay, so they expanded the practice. They purchased the practice. Now let's talk about, okay, I want to sell my practice. I'm ready to either retire or go out. What advice would you give those doctors that are, because this is a hard decision to make, right? Like, it's their life's work usually. So what would you say?
It is
advice-wise. Yeah.
It is difficult for the doctors who've been, this has been their homes. In many cases, the doctors, this is all they've done. They have no other hobbies. They have nothing else going on. So first thing, think ahead. Start planning for selling your practice 3 to 5 years out. This is not something that you should just decide today that you want to sell your practice and start trying to go down that road. There's a lot of emotion attached to it, and you have to determine, as the doctor in the practice, can I let go of it? Do I want to stay on as an associate? Some doctors like to stay on. Some buyers like to have the doctor stay on for a while. Can you do that? I mean, I've been large and in charge of this practice for 40 years. Can I now step aside and let somebody else control everything and just come in and have an associate mentality? It's very difficult, and something that they need to think about. Do they have any earthly idea what the value of their practice is? That I find most dentists do not. There's a random formula here or there that people can say, oh, it's this, or it's, this percentage of that. But in reality, there's about 40 different points that we look at when we are evaluating a practice to put it on the market to sell. And knowing what the value of your practice is and having contingencies in place in advance of the sale can really help you boost the value of the practice going on. I know we'll talk about that a little bit more, but understanding that value is key. We offer a program called the Legacy Protection Program, and we come in and evaluate your practice every year until you're ready to sell. It might be 1 year, it might be 10 years, it might be 50 years, but it's no fee after the first fee. It's a one-time fee. We do it every year. We provide you some codicils to your will so that they can set stuff up and, make sure they're taken care of. If something was to happen, God forbid, disability or even death, which has happened in a number of cases. And it's a really great thing that they need to know. They need to understand, how does that fit into their retirement plan? What does the value of that practice, look like? And don't wait until they start declining, right? So many doctors are like, I'm tired. I think I think it's about time to sell and practice. Well, if they had decided to do it 3 years ago, when their production was 200 or 300 or 400 or $1 million higher, right, than it is today, think of the money they could have made 3 years ago as opposed to waiting and deciding to do it when they're tired. So, there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to go on when they're getting ready to sell a practice, and not something we ever encourage somebody to do in a quick time frame. We want them to think through it and let them kind of percolate on what they need to do. Work with their financial advisors. Make sure that this is the right time. Make sure you got something to do when you're no longer practicing dentistry. I see a lot of dentists that they end up going off and do wonderful things because they do a lot of free work, and they do a lot of public health and those sort of things because they still want to do some of the work, and they don't have anything else to do in their world after they give up their dental practice. But something else really big, it's really important. 2 or 3 things. First off, first impressions are everything. So you're getting ready to sell your practice. Before you decide to make that leap, take a look at your practice. Is it dingy? Does it need to be repainted? Does it, could you upgrade some of your equipment? Do you have digital equipment? Because all of our new young buyers coming out, that's what they want. They want to see the digital dentistry in place.
That's what they know. That's what they're getting taught.
It is. Look at your online reviews. What does your online marketing program look like? Are you active on LinkedIn and Twitter and social media of all sorts? And are you constantly updating that and keeping your reviews good and current? That's a huge marketing opportunity for young buyers. I know that's what you guys help with, Abby. You do a really good job with that. And I love the programs that y'all offer to your clients because it's amazing, especially, and we need to talk about this, especially that program where you come in and you utilize their current software to start to try to attract new patients in the door, because they still have to consider the new patient flow. You don't want to just say, okay, I'm going to sell and I'm not going to work anymore. I got to start getting more people in the door. So that program you guys have is amazing. I'm happy to hear that somebody has taken the reins on that because it's been needed to be done for a long time.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, no, and there's a side. Well, I want you to say 3 first, and then we'll go into it. I want you to collect it all. But as far as you're totally right. Like, you need to be looking at your reviews. You need to be reflecting. I was like, how it said, like, look through it from the patient's perspective, right? Make sure that put your patient hat on, walk in the door. Like, how would you view it? But most importantly, if you're selling it, go back to your original when you were buying, and would you buy that practice? Like, would that be something that you would invest in? Patients are obviously something they're going to be looking at as well. And I see this day in and day out as they look at the opportunity. So there's your online real estate. And just like the building itself, when you have to see how profitable it is, if it's standing, if it's functional, if you need plumbing or electrical, right? That is all the same when it comes to your online presence. And now more than ever, people aren't just looking at your lot of the land physically, they're also looking at it online. So when they Google you, when they look you up, they can see your reviews. Because that is, again, a reflection of your practice. So looking at your reviews, looking at if you're listed on a bunch of other websites, what's the name of your practice? Do they have to rebrand? Do they have to change the name? Do they have to come up with a logo? And then, of course, the website. Do you own the website? That is the biggest thing. Just think of it as a property and owning it versus leasing it, right? Are you paying $200 a month to another marketing company that actually owns it, and you're just leasing that out? Because as soon as the new owner comes in to buy, you now lost that website. Like, you need to make sure that you own your own website. Right. I would recommend you need to make sure that you own your own website to have the full control. And that's a great negotiating tactic to have. Like, I have my own website, I own it, and you can do whatever you want with it. And you can work with whatever marketing company you want because I own it. That gives them flexibility. Absolutely. Versus you're locked into this, or you have to start over. Like, you have to do all these things. Now you also have to have a website. Yeah. Like, that could be, something that's sold into it. And to your point, having a strategy for new patients to make sure that patients are taken care of, doing anything from Google Ads to SEO to attract new patients, but communicating to your existing patients by using their existing softwares in place is very, very key. So making sure that handoff is smooth, making sure that they're in a recall program with emails and texts, making sure treatment that was already proposed by Old Doc is now getting accepted and that you're doing those services, or doc is going to stay until those services are seen through so you can still profit from that. And to your very point, and I think we're leading into more of like that exit plan as well, right? So how that works when to transition out. But as any business owner, any clinician, any person, you should just want to know what's your 3, 5, 10, 20-year plan, and when you leave, what should be your plan. So this is really interesting to like be thinking about. Even, would you say any time is too soon, like to know what it is? Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. No, I really wouldn't. I talk to young doctors, and we work with both buyers and sellers with the transition company, and we spend a lot of time trying to help them understand the value of what they need to do. Many times it's financial related. They're struggling, just to make the payments to buy the new practice and make their loan payments and pay themselves and be able to pay the house payment. So it takes them a little bit of time to get things under their belt. But the more value that they can, the more value, the sooner they can start, the better the value is going to be. What is it they say about compound interest? You invest $20 now and it's $1 million in 20 years, and you invest $20 in 20 years and you got $20.10 maybe if you're lucky. So, it's the value of starting earlier is huge, and having a good financial team that works with you, not just in your practice, but looks at everything, is really important to make sure that they have that under control in their life. It's never too early to start.
Never too early.
Never.
Reiterate, never too early, y'all.
Never too early to start. Never.
Get it going.
That's
never
right.
Know what's going to happen, and you want to make sure that your practice is covered and that your family's covered, most importantly.
Right.
Pam, I want to go back to what you were saying as far as that annual check, because I think that's so crucial that you guys are doing that every year, because so much can change in a year, and knowing that plan exists is amazing. Like, I think that's beautiful. So talk more about that, because I think it's
So I think the wonderful thing about this program is that we are there in the event of anything happening for the doctor. So not only do you understand the value of your practice year over year, so you can see if the practice is growing, if you're stagnant, if you're declining, right?
Yeah.
Because that can happen. You also, and I find in most dental practices, the wives, the husbands of the dentist don't really know anything about dentistry. Yeah. And God forbid something happens that they can no longer do the dentistry and the husband or wife is left to handle the practice. We are there to help them with that. We already know the values of their practice. We know what they're looking for. They've had discussions with us about the kind of things that they'd like to do with the practice, the way they'd like to sell the practice. So we learn a lot through our time with the doctor year over year. It's not a lot of time that they have to spend, but in the event of a disaster, which it would be a disaster, the wife or the husband is not left floundering without any idea about what to do. I see so many times, we just sold a practice in up here in the South Florida area that the doctor passed away unexpectedly in his 40s. You never expect that this is going to happen. You don't end it like everything. We never think it's going to happen to us.
Right.
But it does. And when it does happen, you have to be ready and have a plan, or else the value of your practice is just cut in half in just a matter of months. So to the point with retirement, starting when you're young and understanding your value, building on that value year over year, and then understanding your exit plan and how that works into it, we can help with that structure from the beginning to the end. It's not, we're not a transition company that just says like, oh, okay, hey, call us when you're ready to sell. We're here to help you through things, through the course of your practice, from the time you begin to the time that you end.
If you think about it in a weird way, it's kind of like it's your own accountability check too. What you want your practice to be, what you envision. Like when you get started when you're younger, now you have somebody that's checking in on you every year and seeing if that's still aligned or not. Or obviously, like a few years ago, we wouldn't have expected that there was going to be a worldwide pandemic, right? Like you need to kind of adapt to that and figure out how the business is going to run, or if it's going to be shut down for months at a time. But
absolutely
I think that's crucial, is just having, again, experts in your corner that you can lean on. And if anything, heaven forbid, were to happen to anybody, your spouse or your family or your office family has people to lean on, and they have the contacts to go to. So it makes it more seamless, and that legacy continues in a sense too. So, Yeah, we're getting heavy.
Absolutely. On to something more fun.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about different tips that you could recommend, because you have such an extensive tenure as far as being in dental. So when it comes to practice owners and really adding value to their practice to make sure that they are wanting to sell it at the highest value possible, we skimmed over this a little bit. What are tips that you think could help them with that value?
Well, first, don't wait. Don't wait till you're declining. Start, consider selling at the peak. That's a huge thing. But look at your practice. Do you have, what's your technology look like? What's your marketing program look like? Do you have a great online presence? Clean up your books, right? Clean up your expenses. Clean up what you're running through the practice. Clean up. How do you know what your overhead is, and get a handle on what your overhead looks like? Know what your value is, obviously, and have a contingency plan in the event something happens. Those are all value adds. The more cash flow a practice has, the better value it has, right? So getting the doctors in line to start looking at their financials a little bit closer, paying attention to where their dollars are going, $30 here, $30 there over 10 years adds up to a lot of money. So understanding what their expenses are and where those go is key to helping build value in their practice. But more importantly, you've got to keep the new patient flow going through. Yes. You've got to keep your skills set up, right? Continuing education is key. And trying to sell when you're at the high versus waiting until you're at the low. You can always go work somewhere else. You can always buy another practice and start again, right? There's always options out there. So don't wait to start your practice until the end and you're not able to get the value that you could potentially get if you sold it a few years earlier.
I think of Tom Brady, right? Should have went out with the Super Bowl. What are you doing,
dude? You should have.
Why are you still coming back? Now you're in the divorce scandal. Come on, go out on top. Just go.
That is so true. That is so true.
Bring it out. But otherwise, you're just gonna keep wishing you got that last Super Bowl. And hey, maybe he will. You could pull it audible, but otherwise,
never say never, right?
Never say never. Sorry. I think that's great. And as far as even looking at this is overwhelming, right? Like that can be a lot. It also is a reflection. I don't know. I feel like sometimes it can be looked at as personal, like it's a reflection of your value, and that's not necessarily true. Like it's something to strive for. And no better time than the present, I think, is the biggest theme of this episode, is like, be proactive, look into the future of what you want to achieve, and looking at those numbers, understanding the numbers, understanding your marketing plan, your online presence, your processes, your team, your talent, your own talent, as far as clinical care, and understanding what those numbers stand for can be overwhelming, but you can always lean on. I think what's great about dental too is there's just a level of respect across all people that are involved, and different, what I want to say, like vendors that are involved within the industry, that we will keep things private. I don't know how many phone calls that I've had that they're like, hey, I'm looking to retire in a few years. I don't want anybody to know. Obviously, that is a very private matter, but you're also not alone in this. You can talk to people and tell them, hey, I don't want anybody to know, but I want a plan. You're helping everybody that doesn't know out by just making sure you're going to those vendors, those parties, those experts, to make sure you're covered. And I think that's what's been really amazing about different people within the industry throughout the years, is just that secrecy, and just respecting that it is a personal thing, and it is a thing that you have to kind of overcome or get excited about. But in order to do it right, reach out for help, ask people, but also just say, respect my privacy. And I think anybody would.
Yeah, I agree. Confidentiality is key.
Yes.
It is key. It is, we are exceptionally confidential with our information for our sellers. Many times the doctors don't want their team to know that they're selling the product.
100%. Most,
we have to be really, really cautious about the information that we share and how we share it. And that's just a huge part of what we do. And we think sets us apart a little bit from other people who are in the same business as we are, is we're not really just about a transaction. We're really about the doctor who's selling their practice, and how we can make sure that we're not asking them to fit a square peg in a round hole, right? We are giving them a transition that works for them and works for a buyer coming in, and that we're marrying the buyer and the buyer and the seller together in a way that works best to get the best value for them, for both of them.
Yeah.
That's our goal in transition.
Absolutely. And I've seen you guys do it time and time again. So, I mean, absolutely. And the fact that both parties are thought of and both experiences are there too to be knowledgeable about it. But honestly, I can speak. We were part of an acquisition. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary. Digital Resource acquired the company that I worked for. And I'm so grateful there was a plan, right? Like we didn't know about it until like 30 days before. Oh man, I don't even remember. But it's the fact that there was a plan to it there. And it was, so once we did find out, it was respected to be like, yes, this is what's going on versus just being blindsided and like chaos and being like, what's happening? You know, it's nice to have that transition plan and make sure that as the owner, you are checking on your bases to have that transition and to keep the team.
That's the very first thing that's when a team finds out that the doctor's selling. Their fear is that they're going to lose their jobs immediately. And of course, what we try to share with the team is the practice is not just the doctor. The practice is the team. The practice is, everybody that's there. People love the people that answer the phone. They love the hygienists. They love the assistants. That the team is important, and we never want to bring somebody in who's just going to, cut things off and say goodbye team. So and both buyers and sellers realize that the team is key to making the transition effective. Yeah. And we work really hard to make sure that doesn't change for our team members. It's to the very best of our ability. Yeah. Obviously, we don't have full control, but
try our best.
Once they own it, they own it. But we do our very best to help them understand the value.
And that's always our favorite part when we have like a transition campaign as far as internal marketing. When it's introducing, we always like to say, like, same name, same team, new doctor, or same team, different name, like one change, but the rest is the same. Right. And most importantly, the team, right? Like that always helps too, because to your point earlier, the hygienist, like the relationships that they have with their patients is unmatched. Like it's typically what you might forget who the doctor is, but you always remember your hygienist, because unless you're a younger patient, especially because they don't have as much treatment typically, right? So you always see the hygienist, rarely see the doctor. Yes, the team is there to help that transition so it feels as normal as possible. But
we laugh at our hygienists are the psychologists of the dental office.
Yes,
because people tell them everything. It's true, right? So they know everything about their patients. They do.
It's like it's like a touchy. When you go to your hairstylist and stuff, and they always say that you tend to open up because they're like playing with your hair, they're touching you like it's like an emotion. It's the same thing with the hygienist. Like they're up in your face, and you're like trying to open up, but they're also in your mouth, and you're like, what?
What? You're telling them your life story, all about your vacation. They know everything.
Like,
Could you please sit up?
Exactly.
I love it.
Do you watch HGTV or favorite station?
Which movie do you want? Yeah. Let's get your teeth cleaned.
It's like you're in their living room. It's amazing.
Exactly.
Well, I really enjoyed having you on today. And before we outro out, any advice that I always like to ask, based on your experience, Pam, you know a lot. You've been with a lot of different practices. If you could advise any practice, anything, what would you tell them?
First and foremost, create your culture. Make sure your culture is great, right? Create a great culture. It's awesome. Plan for the future. Know what your goals are, and hire the people that you need to make you successful.
Oh,
don't be afraid.
Oh my gosh, those are so strong. Okay. That's a strong way to end.
Those are my 3 points.
Done. Mic drop. I love it. Boom. Well, Pam, thank you so much for talking with us today again. I really always enjoy your energy and just getting to chat with you and picking your brain. And thank all of you for tuning in. If you want to learn more about how to properly transition your practice and have Pam and her team take care of you, go to legacypracticetransitions.com. or go ahead and give her a call directly at 214-288-0447, or you can even send her an email at pam@legacypracticetransitions.com. Thanks again, Pam. It's been so fun.
Thanks, Pam. It was a great time. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye, y'all. Bye.